Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the Nike Sabrina 3. So the Sabrina shoe line has been very popular, not only in the NBA, but just like around, you know what I mean? Just at the gym. I feel like the Sabrinas are the most popular shoe line that I've seen for the past couple years. Like I see so many Sabrina 1s, Sabrina 2s, especially 2s. Like I feel like I've seen so many 2s at the gym, you know. Aside from Kobe's, Sabrinas are very popular. So yeah, this colorway is available, but also the kind of like blue colorway is available as well. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave in the affiliate link in the description box. And if you do choose to get this shoe, it does help me out if you buy it through the affiliate link in the description box. And as always, thank you guys so much for all the support. But yeah, let's get it started right off with the Tracciones, right? And the traction, it's not as good as the Sabrina 2. You know, I'll say that right now, but it's still really nice, right? So here in this colorway, we have a fully translucent rubber. Maybe it just wasn't the best because of the translucent rubber, but yeah, if they do come out with a solid rubber option, I would love to test it out. Maybe I'll do the Nike by you know what I mean? It's actually 165 bucks if I remember correctly. But yeah, we do have a whole bunch of S's. Look at that. Crazy amount of S's. That's pretty much the entire outsole pattern, right? And it kind of reminds me of the Kyrie 2 with this design here in the forefoot. So yeah, even when I was playing on a super clean court, it did have a very nice bite, but it for some reason, like going forward, it would slide a little bit, even on a super duper clean court, right? When I'm doing lateral movements, it had a very good stop, right? Like when I was doing, you know, side steps, doing like a 45-degree angle, or going forward, doing like a jump shot or something like that, I did notice it slide just a tiny bit. And that happened to me in the Jordan 31 as well, but the 31 was terrible. That shoe was just, it would slide out like crazy. But the Sabrina 3, not as bad, but I did notice it a little bit, which was definitely annoying. And I never experienced that in the Sabrina 2, right? But also the Sabrina 2 was like a slightly translucent, you know what I mean? Like an iridescent also in the colorway that I have. So I don't know. That's just something that I noticed, right? So that was a little bit of a disappointment. Again, nothing terrible or anything. It was just a minor inconvenience for me. But also, this shoe definitely does pick up a little bit of dust, right? And a slight dust. It wasn't the best, but also wasn't terrible. I definitely needed to keep up with my wipes. And when I was playing on a slightly dusty court, you know, and if I didn't want to wipe and I let a little bit too much dust build up, it did start to get a little bit dangerous, and it would slide out. And I did slide out pretty dangerously and kind of like lose my footing. I didn't fall though, which is great, right? So yeah, slightly dusty court. It's not the best, right? Also on a moderately dusty court to a very dusty court, it does pick up dust. It's not super quick though, but again, if you do let too much dust build up, it is dangerous, right? So that did make me feel a little bit unsafe when I was playing the Sabrina 3s on a very dusty court. So that kind of sucks. I was a little bit disappointed, you know what I mean? Again, it's not terrible, and if I did keep up with my wipes, I still had really good stops, but I still had that inconsistency with the like going forward, you know what I mean? And so because that's just not my favorite for the traction performance. Also, this shoe is extremely squeaky. It has a very loud squeak, very high pitched as well, just like the Sabrina 2s. And if you like to have a nice squeak, this shoe has got you covered. Of course, squeak has nothing to do with performance. Also, as far as the durability goes, I definitely wouldn't say it's the best because, I mean, with these S's, I mean, the grooves aren't super thin, but it's like the rubber's kind of soft, you know what I mean? So I definitely don't think it would last the longest time on an outdoor court. So yeah, the traction, it's not top tier, but I would say it's solid, it's good, but it's definitely not as good as the Sabrina 2 from my experience. So yeah, that kind of sucks, right? So there's the traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, extremely smooth. It literally, this shoe feels like just so minimal, you know what I mean? Almost borderline like I'm wearing a barefoot shoe. Now, I mean, not a barefoot shoe, but like, you know, the Zero X1, you know, the basketball shoe by the Barefoot Shoe Company. It kind of feels like that because just, first of all, I mean, the cushion is way more than that, but just how the shoe feels, right? So we'll get into that, but here in the heel, we got a nice curve shape, fully exposed Cushlon 3.0 midsole. However, this is just it's a dual density Cushlon, so the foam that's wrapping around the outside of the shoe is a little bit stiffer, and then the core is a little bit softer, right? Right, and if you kind of press this orange part, it's super duper soft, but on the outside it's a little bit stiffer, but still kind of soft. But yeah, doing heel dominant strides, you know, striking the heel first, it's still soft and it felt smooth. And then coming here into the forefoot, nice curved shape, but also look at this, extremely flexible, extremely flexible feeling, right? Even here in the midfoot, and torsion support definitely isn't the best. So it just has a really nimble, flexible feel like a barefoot shoe, but obviously has better torsion support and better underfoot support than a barefoot shoe. But it has that kind of feel, you know what I mean? Especially since I was playing with like the Jordan 40s, you know? Like the Jordan 40s, like this was in my rotation, the Jordan 40s, you know, the Jaw 3s, the Freak 7s, you know, these were all in my rotation. And obviously the Sabrina 3 has that kind of like the most flexible feel. So yes, it's a smooth feel, right? Of course, when you're doing heel dominant strides on the court, but it's definitely not springy at all, right? Now moving on to the cushioning setup, like I mentioned before, it is using Cushion 3.0, but it is dual density, and it's just like the Sabrina 2. I mean, there is a top-loaded forefoot zoom in it. You can feel it. You know, it has a nice bit of bounce, nice little bit of compression, just like every other forefoot zoom unit that's top-loading, you know. And then there is a nice compression here in the heel too. Court feel is amazing. You have amazing court feel. You have one of the best court feels that you can get on the market right now. Impact protection overall is really good for how low to the ground you are, but it's not the best impact protection, right? Heel strikes, I was good to go, but for some reason when I was landing hard here in the forefoot, like when I was landing like more on the outside of my foot, like on the lateral side here, when I was landing here, it would hurt a little bit, you know, when I was doing hard landings, like on like a pull-up jumper or something like that. So just wasn't the best, obviously, because it is very good for court feel. So if you're looking for a shoe that has the maximum impact protection, this obviously isn't the best. But again, if you're used to this kind of cushioning setup where it's low to the ground and you don't get the best impact protection, but you do get adequate impact protection for the most part, then this is a great option. And I mean, of course, for the price tag, right? This shoe is $135 to $140 depending on the colorway. And for that price, I definitely feel like, you know, it's not the best, you know, cushioning setup, but it definitely gets the job done, especially since it's geared more towards guards. And if you're a guard, you want that really responsive, low to the ground setup, this is great. But if you're looking for something extremely comfortable, extremely cushiony, bouncy, this definitely isn't the best option. Underfoot cushion also is okay. Here in the heel, you get a little bit of something, you know what I mean, with the cushion, and also with that forefoot zoom unit that's top loaded. But it's definitely not crazy. You know, there's a whole bunch of other cushioning setups that I can name, like the Joker 1 GT, you know, the Kai 2, the Harden Volume 9, the Donny Shoe 7, you know, the Zoom Freak 7, the Jaw 3, you know, the A1. There's a lot of cushioning setups that are just a little bit softer, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there is a cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper. So, this upper broke in really nicely, but it didn't even take that much to break in. You know, when I first got it, it was a little bit on the stiffer side of things, especially where the embroidered part is. But like after 1 to 2 times of playing it, look at how soft it is now. Like look at this. If I'm just like pressing it, look at how easily it gives. You know what I mean? So it's just a really thin, very soft material. It doesn't stretch though too much. Not too much. I mean, there's a little bit of stretch to it, you know, just a tiny bit, but for the most part, it easily gives, you know, and comparing it to like the Freak 7, you know, this is broken in, it definitely got a lot softer since when I first got it, but it still has a little bit more of a stiffer, rigid, more supportive feel. The Sabrina 3, way softer. Look at that, right? So yeah, it conforms to my foot extremely well here in the forefoot, and it's just so minimal feeling. And then coming here into the midfoot, of course, we do have the kind of like pleated material so that the fly wire can go through it, and it gets a little bit stiffer here. You know what I mean? So that does feel a little bit better for kind of like that supportive feel here in the midfoot, which I do like. But again, it's not the most supportive feeling material, right? Also for the tongue, very minimal padding. We also have a very kind of like cheap fine mesh on the bottom of the tongue. That adds for a little bit of ventilation, a little bit of airflow. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And then here in the ankle area, also normal padding, right? I would say a little bit less than average padding, but also the padding isn't super cushiony. You know what I mean? There's some paddings where it's just like, it feels really nice, like a memory foam. For example, like in the Jaw 3, right? When I'm feeling it, it has a nice kind of like memory foam like feel, right? But the Sabrina 3, it's more like a little bit stiffer and a little bit cheaper feeling for the actual like foam, like the padding here in the ankle area, right? So yeah, I mean, it's crazy how minimal this upper feels. You know, just like the Sabrina 2, it feels pretty much exactly the same as the Sabrina 2. So yeah, if you're into that, then this is a great option. But again, it does lack in support just a tiny bit. You know, it has a little bit of a stretch. It's not super stiff, not super supportive. But for me, it was adequate though, right? But I am average weight. But if you need a crazy amount of support, or if you want a crazy amount of support, or like a more stiffer, rigid material, then this definitely isn't the best option, right? So there is the upper there. Moving on to the fit. So I went true to my Nike size, right? And this shoe fits me extremely well. So all my Nike shoes have been fitting a little bit short. So I go up half size for pretty much all my Nike hoop shoes. And yeah, I did the same thing here in the Sabrina 3 and it fits me extremely well. Lengthwise, I would say there's a little bit of length, but yeah, if I went true to size, it'll probably most definitely be a little too short. So lengthwise, I'm pretty much good to go. Also here in the toe box, it's a very, very snug fit. Like I can, it's weird because, you know, when I'm just standing, right, the material goes right over my toes, but then because this material is a little bit more forgiving, there's a little bit of stretch to it, I can curl my toes up a little bit, right? Not a crazy amount, but just a little bit. So yeah, it's a little bit different of a feel comparing it to, like, you know, the Jaw 3, you know? The Jaw 3, very more, like, a lot stiffer of a material, so I can't really do that, you know what I mean? Also, comparing it to the Jordan 40 as well with this leather, I can't really do that either. The Sabrina 3 has a softer, more forgiving feel, so the toe box, even though it's snug, it's not like super snug feeling, you know what I mean? And then width-wise, it's actually pretty narrow as well, especially here on the sides. My big toe is okay though, yeah, it's not super narrow there. And again, it's a very, very similar fit to the Sabrina 2. So if you know what size you are in the Sabrina 2, pretty much go the exact same size here in this shoe, right? And now moving on to the support and lockdown. Again, very, very nice and adequate for me. Now, I had zero issues with it, but again, if you need a crazy amount of support, this isn't going to be the best option because not only is the upper like really thin and minimal, the overall shoe like underneath your foot is very, very flexible as well. You know what I mean? It just has a crazy amount of give and your foot is doing a lot of the work compared to like shoes that are a little bit stiffer like the Jordan 40s, you know? So yeah, as far as the lateral containment goes, I was fine. My foot is not coming out of the footbed because they did put the necessary sidewalls. You can see the foam coming up acting as a sidewall here in the forefoot. Also, we have an internal TPU heel counter. Flywire, I don't know, probably, I don't think it does too much. It's mostly more like a gimmick to me personally, but I do like how they added that. And, you know, my foot wasn't really coming out of the footbed. However, you know, when I was doing hard lateral movements, you know, just like in the Sabrina 2, like the Luka 4s and stuff like that, my foot's moving inside of the shoe a little bit, you know what I mean? Because of the softer upper. Again, it's not terrible. I really don't mind it too much, but I just noticed it a little bit more compared to shoes like, you know, the Jaw 3 and the Jordan 40s, where like my foot's really not moving because the upper is just a lot stiffer, you know what I mean? But yeah, if you're a guard or you've played in like the Sabrina 2, Luka 4s, Tatum 3, you know, Jaw 2s, it has a very, very similar feel. Also, zero heel slippage, and my foot was locked into the shoe very, very well. It's just the upper is not the most supportive feel, right? So there is a supporting lockdown. Moving on to the weight of the shoe. This shoe is extremely freaking light, right? So yeah, let's check the left shoe. It comes in at 11.5 ounces. Let's check the right pair. Comes in at 11.45 ounces. So that's extremely lightweight. You know what I mean? The average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces, but for the past couple years, shoes have been getting lighter. So it's, I would say the average is around 12 ounces, right? But yeah, so still a little bit lighter than average. And this shoe feels extremely lightweight, extremely minimal because of the upper, right? Especially here in the toe box. You're so low to the ground. And when I was playing on an extremely clean court and I was keeping up with my wipes on the dustier courts, I had a very, very good time. I felt extremely quick. It almost had that like ninja, like barefoot shoe type of feel, you know what I mean? Because of its nimble, flexible nature. So yeah, if you're a guard, you're definitely gonna like this, right? So there's that. Moving on to ventilation, very, very good. You know, this material lets in a good amount of air, right? The airflow is pretty good. It's very, very thin as well. Here in the toe box, also for the tongue as well. So yeah, ventilation, very, very nice. Moving on to the aesthetics, I like it. I definitely don't think it looks terrible, but I feel like it's the worst looking Sabrina in her shoe line, but that's not saying that it's bad because again, the Sabrina 2 and the Sabrina 1 look amazing. So yeah, I do like the overall design though, right? And the colorways, I mean, with the Nike by You, what you can do, like you can mismatch it. There's a good amount of colors available as well. It's kind of crazy. I might even do one, you know? So yeah, tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. And also, as far as the durability goes, first of all, like this material, it gets super duper dirty. So if you don't like that, right, then probably get like a dark colored upper or dark colored shoe if you can, because you can see on the laces and also on the upper, especially the embroidered parts, it's like really dirty. There's like a whole lot of, there's just people stepping on my foot all the time, you know what I mean? But also with this upper, I definitely don't think it'll last that long, you know? Especially if you're playing on an outdoor court, but also if you're playing on an indoor court and you just like, you play really hard, I guess. I definitely feel like you'll develop a hole very, very easily, especially where like your big toe is, you know what I mean? I see a lot of people with holes over here. So I mean like right here with your big toe. So you just be careful with that. It doesn't seem like the most durable upper. So yeah, wrapping things up. It's the Sabrina 2, pretty much, right? Everything is pretty much the exact same. I mean, there is some minor differences, and also the traction performance isn't as good in my personal experience, but other than that, it feels extremely similar to the Sabrina 2. And yeah, if you like the Sabrina 2, you like the Sabrina 3. It's a top tier performer, amazing guard shoe. I loved playing in it. It's just not as nice as the Sabrina 2 because of, you know, the traction issues that I had a little bit, you know? So anyways, great guard shoe. If you're a bigger dude, probably not the best option. You know what I mean? So that about wraps up this performance review. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave in the link in the description box. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.